What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an extra spicy profile, and that is of course, Magikey Primites. So we have received Primites as a brand new engine that helps you utilize any deck that utilizes a normal monster. You should have already seen Blue Eyes, Red Eyes and Dark Magician that I've brought to you guys with this one, and I got requested to make a Magikey version. Now I haven't been able to play Magikeys for a long time, so it was great to revisit this deck and give it a nice little updated revamp utilizing the Primites, and this profile will show you exactly what it can do and how it can help itself out using that engine. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to take you through the profile, explain what we've got, explain why we've got it, and then you can take this build away, adapt it, play with it yourself, and then see what you can kind of come up with. So we're going to be starting off with 3 of the Magikey Sky Blaster. So you want to be maxing out on this as this is your main go-to normal monster for the deck. Quite like Dark Magician in that version, Red Eyes in that version, and Blue Eyes in its own version, this is the core component. On top of that as well, the one additional vanilla that we are playing is the Gunkan Suship. Now the reason we're playing this is you want to play another vanilla level 4, but the reason I chose the Suship is because of the fire attribute, which is actually really important for some of the other cards that we are playing in the deck. It's really important for the Magikey engine of the deck as well, as that then gets additional benefits depending on the normal monster's attributes in the graveyard. You can consider something like Mech Knight Avram, because that is a 2000 attack monster vanilla as a light, but the reason I went with the Sushi is to deal with Snake Eyes. We've already covered Darks off of the back of the Magikey Sky Blaster, so I thought Snake Eyes would probably be the next best thing, and of course Temp Eyes, so we can utilize that with the Gunship, and when you're utilizing that, you can also get the benefits off of the back of the second effect of the Primite Imperial Dragon, which allows you to banish all monsters your opponent controls with the same type or attribute as a normal monster in your graveyard. So now what you can do is you can cover Fire, you can cover Aqua if you end up facing certain Mermail decks, depending on which version they are playing, but then of course you can cover Darks and Warriors. If you want to be covering something else like Spellcasters or Fiends, you might want to look at other vanillas you can utilize. Then of course we are playing triple of the Magikey Maftil. I obviously get that one wrong all the time, but this one is your Fiend, and it cannot be used as material for a Synchro or XYZ except for the Synchro or XYZ summon of a Magikey monster. If you control a Magikey monster, you get to reveal this card in the hand, and you get to normal summon a Magikey monster during your main phase, this turn in addition to your normal summon or set. You can only gain this effect once per turn, and then when this card is normal, you get to target a level 4 or lower normal monster in your graveyard or a level 4 Magikey monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense. So this allows you to recycle your Magikey fusion monster, but then it can also allow you to recycle any of your vanilla monsters, which you can very easily get from the deck thanks to Primite Raw and Lordy Lord. So you're going to have even more consistency to get there, save your normal summon, and that's when your additional normal summon will come into play, because then it unlocks a tuner in the form of the Maftel. So if you end up having multiple of these in the hand, you can normal summon this, that's your first tuner for a Synchro level 8, and then you can get the other one to get you into a rank 4 as well if you want to. Then of course we are playing triple of the Bateau Buster, so this is the best ritual for this particular deck as the easiest access option. So you can ritual summon this card with Magikey Math T. And I'm always going to get this wrong, but I call it Mafti. It's the ritual spell. That's how you're going to work with it. And then if this card is ritual summoned, you get to add a Magikey card from the deck to the hand. So this allows you to search out your trap cards, which are going to unlock the ability to make rank 8s. It's also going to unlock the ability to negate your opponent's spells and traps. So that's where this card really does come into its own. You can only use each effect once per turn, and then once per turn when an attack is declared involving this card and an opponent's monster that has the same attribute as a normal monster or Magikey monster in your graveyard, so you will cover Dark, Light and Fire with this particular route of play. You then get the ability to place any number of cards from your hand onto the bottom of the deck, and if you do, negate the effects of that opponent's monster until the end of the turn. Then you get to draw any number placed onto the bottom of the deck. So again, it just allows you to recycle, and you're going to be able to burn through those materials very easily. And this of course is a ritual tuner, so it gives you more access to your synchros. Then we do play the one Magikey Gersglasser. So this one is the level 8. You get to ritual summon this card with Magikey Mafti, and then it gains 300 attack for each different attribute in your graveyard. Again, straight away at the base minimum, you're going to have lights, fire, and darks, so keep that in mind. So it's going to gain up an additional 900 at the base. And then once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect, an effect of a monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard, so fire, dark, or light, if it at least 2 attributes of monsters that were used for this card's ritual summon, which you should be able to do that very easily, you get a quick effect to negate the activation and destroy it. And if this ritual summon card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Magikey monster from the deck to the hand. So again, just more consistency. Then for the spells, we are playing 2 of the Magikey World. Now you can play 3 if you want to. I decided to go with 2 and a Terraforming. really is up to you and what you have access to. So when this card is activated, you get to add a Magikey monster from the deck to the hand, and then the first time each non-token normal monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, each turn it is not destroyed. And then during your main phase, you get to add a Magikey Mafti from the deck to the hand, and then you get to place one card from your hand onto the bottom of the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn, so it's a hard once per turn, which is why I decided to go for a terraforming rather than free, just to deck thin. But then of course, if Draw Not Bird is running rampant in your environment, you might want to go with free. Then for the ritual cards, we are playing the 1 high ritual art. This allows you to ritual summon any ritual monster from the deck, but you also must tribute normal monsters from your hand whose total levels equal the level of the ritual monster you ritual summoned. You have to shuffle that ritual monster into the deck during your opponent's end phase. So the ability to be able to ritual summon directly from the deck is what gives it its edge. You do need to make sure that when you're ritual summoning that monster, you're probably going to go more times than not for your Battle Buster, and then this is going to allow you to search out a Magikey monster and then you use it as synchro fodder if you need to. Then of course we do play the 2 Maftis. So fusion summon a Magikey fusion monster from the extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, or ritual summon a Magikey ritual monster from the hand by tributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed that level. And then if you control a normal monster, you can also send a normal monster from the deck to the graveyard as material or tribute. So again, you should be able to control a normal monster very easily thanks to Primite, Lordy Lord and Raw. Very easy to do so. So it just gives you easier access to get you into your bigger fusions, your bigger rituals and everything else in between. Then we are playing Triple Preparation of Rites. Unfortunately, this is only going to allow you to add the Battle Buster because the other one is a level 8, but keep that in mind. Then you do have the Advanced Ritual Art. So it allows you to ritual summon any ritual monster, but you send normal monsters from the deck to the graveyard. So straight away, it gives you the ability to Foolish Burial, technically, your 2 normal monsters in the form of the Sky Blaster, and of course in the form of the Su Ship. There we go. So you've got the options to do that. You might want to play more vanillas, but I kind of feel that the more you play, the brickier it gets. That's kind of where the Raw kind of combos off a little bit, and you want to recycle those materials by putting them back into the deck with other forms and other means. Then of course we've got the 1 Reinforce of the Army, search out any any warrior. And then you've got the 1 Instant Fusion, and the reason for this is you're going to use it to instant fuse into your Magikey Beast, and this is going to allow you to get a bit more advantage. It's basically an instant fusion to get a level 4 tuner on the board, and then you use this as ritual fodder should you need to. Then we're playing 3 Magikey trap cards in Lock-In, Unlock-In, and Duo. So Duo allows you to target a normal monster or a Magikey monster in your graveyard and then add it to the hand, so that's how you can start recycling stuff, and then you get to apply the following effects. Fusion summon a Magikey fusion monster from your extra deck in defense position using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, or ritual summon a Magikey ritual monster from the hand in defense by tributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed. So ritual and fusion trap card. Lock-In, I think, is like one of the best cards for this deck. So you tribute a normal monster or a Magikey monster, accept a token, then target up to 2 normal monsters and or Magikey monsters in your graveyard whose total levels equal 8 or less. Special summon those monsters in defense, and then you get to apply the following effects to immediately after this effect resolves. So you either synchro summon a Magikey synchro monsters using those monsters, or you XYZ a Magikey XYZ monster using monsters you control. So again, very easy access to get to your rank 4, to get to your synchro level 8, and the level 8 is your out and out aggressor, which is crazy, that we'll talk about when we get to it. And then of course you've got the Unlock-In, which is the counter trap card to when your opponent activates a spell or trap card while you control a Magikey ritual monster or a Magikey monster special from the extra deck. You get to negate the activation if you do destroy that card. Then you can declare 1 attribute, and your opponent monsters and if you do that, for the rest of the turn, all face-up monsters become that attribute. So that gives you the ability to kind of turn them all into darks, all into fires, all into lights, whatever you need to, and you could start to play Super Poly if you wanted to. Moving on to the Primite engine, pretty standard on this one that I've shown you in all my other builds. 3 Lordy Lord, 3 Raw, 1 Dragon, and 1 Drill Beam. Now at the base minimum, in reality, you could cut these 2 cards down if you wanted to, and if you wanted to make the engine even smaller, I would say you probably play 3 Lordy Lord and 1 Raw, because the idea is Raw is only going to be useful to you while you control no monsters, and that's when you're going to be able to get easier access to your Primites. Lordy Lord is just constantly going to be on that board to keep giving you an additional vanilla if you needed to, but it also gives you the ability to search out the Dragon or the Drill Beam or the Raw. Drill Beam gives you that ability to target a face-up card your opponent controls, negate it, and then banish it. And then Imperial Dragon allows you to normal summon it via an additional tribute, Incense, by tributing off a normal monster. And then you have the ability to negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls, and then banish all monsters your opponent controls with the same type or attribute as a normal monster in the graveyard. So like I've already mentioned, you cover Dark, you cover Fire, you cover Aqua, and then you cover Warriors. So you get everything you need to. And then Raw has that little hidden ability, which I love more than anything, that if your opponent normal summons a monster, you get to banish this card from the graveyard, target a normal monster you control or in the graveyard, and then banish 1 monster from the field with less attack than that monster. So great ways of interacting with your opponent and just shutting off their normal summon, which is one of the most important mechanics of the game in general. Then for the hand traps and interactions, we've got triple Ash Blossom and triple Imperm. You adapt these as you see fit. You can make them droplets, you can make them talents. It really is up to you. If you wanted to be a bit more gassed, they could be your vanillas, but you still want to make the deck semi-competitive. Like, you don't want to sit there and just let your opponent go off and then get hit with a hand trap and just cry a little inside. So you got to be careful. Moving on to the extra deck, we do play the one Magikey Deity. Now, this one is a rank 8. Now, this one does get a little bit more specific, as it will require more times than not your Synchro level 8 and or your Fusion monster as well. But once per turn, when your normal monster or Magikey monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you get to detach material from this card to inflict damage to your opponent equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. And then once per turn, during your opponent's main phase, you get a quick effect to target a monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as a normal monster or Magikey monster you control or in the graveyard, and then detach material from this card, and if you do, banish that monster. So it's your aggressor, 3k, 3k. It's just a little bit tricky and awkward to make, and that's where you need to float back your synchros and your fusions of your level 8s, and you can go down an additional route to get other level 8 synchros to the board, but I feel the majority of the level 8 synchros you'll put into the board, you're not really going to want to use them as overlay materials. We've then got the one Magikey Spirit, which is your rank 4. So generic rank 4, and if it is XYZ summons, you get to detach material from this card to add a level 4 or higher normal monster from the deck or graveyard to the hand. If this card has a normal monster as material, it gains the following effect. That at the start of the damage step, if it battles an opponent's monster with the same attribute as a normal monster or Magikey monster in your graveyard, you get to detach material from this card. Your opponent must send that monster to the graveyard. So it's just ways of being able to clear your opponent's board off without technically battling it, and that's where you probably want to keep the Magikeys in the graveyard and have the Sue Ship under this as material. Then for the synchros, we are playing 2 of the Magikey Fiend. This card's an absolute powerhouse, and I really do love it. It does specifically require a Magikey tuner, but then the other one, it just needs to be a non-tuner normal monster. So it's very specific with what it requires and what it wants, but you do get to benefit off the back of it. So it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, and you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If you control this card that was synchro summoned using at least 2 attributes, which more times than not it will be, with a light and a dark, or a dark and a light and a fire, or a dark and a fire, get there eventually. It has the additional ability to set a Magikey spell trap directly from the deck to your spell and trap zone, and then if your opponent normal or specials on monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard is set during damage state, you get to destroy it. Now the best thing about that is it just keeps going, okay, summon down, and you go, cool, pop, get rid of it. Now you kind of save that for the special summon, as this will deal with a special summon and the rule will deal with the normal summon, so you're kind of covering both bases with that one. And then for the fusion monster, we do play the one dragon. So again, specifically requires a Magikey effect monster, which is a lot easier now because we do have the Mafti in the main deck as the effect monster level 4. And it requires a normal monster except a token, so that's where the Sue Ship comes into play. So when this card is fusion summoned, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects, and then once per turn you get to target a normal monster or a Magikey in your graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls with that monster's attributes, so covering fire and dark. And then once per turn, if your opponent's monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard is destroyed by battle or card effect, and if this card was fusion summoned using 2 different attributes, you get to draw 1 card. So again, it should be very easy to make this with 2 different attributes now. And then we're playing 2 Beast, so instant fusion target as well as a very easy fusions target, because it just requires a Magikey monster and a normal monster except a token. And if it is fusion summoned, you get to add a Magikey Mafti from the graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. And then once per turn, you get to target an attack position monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as a normal monster or Magikey in your graveyard, change it to defense, and if you do, it loses 1,000 defense, and then banish any monster destroyed by battle with this card. Now, the reason that you're playing this at 2 and not the rest is because it's the easiest one to get to. It just becomes a level 4 fusion tuner. Yes, of course, getting the Mafti back from the graveyard can be massively helpful, but that's not the ideal scenario because it still needs you to go, okay, cool, I've activated the Mafti, I've been able to get to it, and that's why instant fusion is like a little less effective, because the only reason you're using the instant fusion is to get you another free monster on the board to get you into more level 8s, which means you can very easily make the deity earlier doors. But it's kind of just if and all on what you've got. Then for the link monsters, I've got the one Cross Sheep. So the idea behind this is obviously you are going to fusion summon, you're going to XYZ summon, you're going to ritual summon, you can even synchro. So you can pretty much trigger all of the effects off the back of this if you want to. We've then got the one IP Masquerena, which I've tried to keep budget in mind, which is why there is no SP, but then SP is like £7 now. So you'd basically just swap out the Nightmare Unicorn for an SP Little Knight. If you're able to get a hold of it, like the day that I'm recording this video, the set hasn't officially dropped yet, so I don't know where the prices are going to settle, and I didn't want to put SP in here, and everyone's like, yo, SP Super's still like £15. I'll be like, okay, well, Nightmare Unicorn. So I'll show you the budget option, and if you've got a bit more money, upgrade to an SP. Obviously, Nightmare Phoenix, just for that back row hate. I got the one Dynamondo. I'm not sure if it's absolutely necessary. You could cut this out completely. The card I would cut this out for would be something like a Baguska, because you do have other options to utilize. You just need to remember that some of your cards, like, you kind of want your cards to go into synchros if you want to, more times than not. The aggressor, I've gone with Borosword, but you can very easily go for Access Code Talker. I just felt that when I was looking at my Link monsters, bar the fact of Dynamondo, like when you're working your way up to Access Code, you're going to be going dark to dark to dark. So I was like, okay, well, you're not really getting any more advantage off of the back of that, but that's where you might want to change it depending on what card you're playing. And the last two we're playing is the one Typhoon and the one Zeus. Zeus will become a little bit more effective if you do play Bagooska, because you can just slow the game down for a turn, go into Zeus, nuke the board, and off you go. Typhoon is obviously going to be a little bit more important in this build, because the idea is you can just rank up any of your like base level vanillas, go into this card, and then this card just goes, okay, cool, well, I'm now turned a 1900 vanilla into a fat stat boss monster that's going to be able to bounce and then negate strong attack monsters. So gives you what you need. The extra deck is very flexible. Like, once you get past the Magikey monsters that you're playing, that's when the extra deck can start opening up and you'll be like, yeah, cool, I can play pretty much whatever you want, really. So I'm hoping in the future we get more level 8 Magikeys. Like, I really do love the more recent inclusions of these two, but I feel that we're missing, like, I would love to see a level 4 Synchro. Like, we've got the level 4 Fusion and the Fusion, but we kind of need a Synchro. The issue with a level 4 Synchro is it's a lot harder because you're not actively adapting their levels, but you kind of want a level 4 Magikey Synchro that says if you are using a Magikey monster as material for this, you can treat the materials as level 2s. That would be something really kind of cool. Now, I don't think that's even possible or even going to exist, but that's just kind of something off the top of my head that I feel could make Magikeys really kind of cool. Anyway, so this was an updated spicy version of the deck, something I haven't seen for a long, long time, and I thought I'd put them together, show you what they can do now with the Primites, because it just gives them even more access to, like, vanilla tuners if they want to, or vanilla non-tuners. And then if you wanted to go down different routes as well and different synchro options, you could do, or even more different rank 4 options if you needed to. As long as you're going into rank 4s that are going to activate during your opponent's turn, it means the secondary effect of Lordy Lord doesn't cause an issue for you, and it also means that you can open up the door to Bagooska a little bit easier. Should your opponent just hand track you to death and you go, okay, well, at least I've got Lordy Lord into Raw, into Bagooska, let's go. So that's it for the entire profile. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them as always. But for now, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.